Most people don't expect to deal with bullying beyond high school, but if the statistics are anything to go by, you would find that more and more people are confronted with bullies well beyond their teenage years. In fact, more and more people are encountering bullies at work. Bullying can occur between a boss and a subordinate or between co-workers, but perhaps the most difficult situation to deal with is bullying by the boss, the very person responsible for your advancement within the company. Now today we are joined by Marleen Potgieter from a digital learning solutions company, The Training Room Online. She is an expert on dealing with the matter of bullying at the workplace. Marleen, welcome to Newsroom.
Morning.
I just want to start off, bullying in the workplace. How common is it in South Africa?
It is much more common than people realize. I did a radio interview recently and I was completely astonished by the response from both friends who spoke to me afterwards and from people who contacted me to say they were being bullied. I was even blown away by the response.
What is the type of bullying we're talking about that you encounter in a workplace?
Generally speaking, it's from a hierarchical level, so it's somebody who is in a position of authority who's bullying people who are below them, so their reports or people who report into them, which can be both male and female, incidentally.
I just want to know, are we talking about mostly male, or I understand the figures are showing that it's mostly female bullies?
What's really interesting is that I suppose the more women work themselves up into the hierarchical positions in an organization, it would be reflective of the percentage of female versus male in the workplace. And statistically, it has been shown that there are more female bullies than male bullies, which is interesting because most people associate bullies with men.
Now, how serious is bullying in the workplace and how seriously should it be taken action against it?
It should be taken extremely seriously. It is serious. Firstly, it affects people's dignity and it affects their well-being. And the minute you affect somebody's well-being, it affects productivity. It also creates a huge staff turnover. I was absolutely amazed. In a recent organization where we did an audit with staff, I did some focus group sessions with the staff, we found that 33 people had left the organization directly attributable to the bully in this organization. So it's something that should be taken really seriously. If you want your staff to be productive, you should remove all incidents of bullying.
As an employer, how should you be taking care of your staff?
How should you be taking care of them? You should be removing all incidents like this from an organization. But physically, how one does that, it's important to do an audit of your environment regularly. Surveys don't work because surveys just tell you the percentage of people that feel unhappy. One needs to drill down a little bit deeper and find out why people are unhappy. And one does this either through questionnaires where you ask open-ended questions and do it anonymously so that people feel free to speak out about it. Because it is on a hierarchical level, it's very difficult for people to speak out. And the other way of doing it is to do focus groups with various people within the organization. It's through focus groups like that I uncovered several incidents of bullying in the workplace in the last year that I've been doing this work.
Now, what if the bully is your boss? How do you handle that situation?
It's an extremely difficult thing to do. Most people are very frightened of speaking out because this is the person that affects your life and affects whether you stay in the organization and whether you're promoted. Very often, though, bullies don't bully one person only. They sometimes do, but very seldom. There will be more than one person who has had the experience from that bully. And if you start speaking out on a level of your own level or people that are at a lower level than you, you'll probably find that there's more than one person who has experienced it. And there's always safety in numbers. So if you collectively go and complain to a person who's hopefully more senior than the bully or to the HR department, I think it's very important to raise awareness that staff members can do this.
Bullying in the workplace leads to emotional bullying and the impact broadly. What does the impact have on the business itself when you have employers who are afraid of speaking out, who are being bullied, and just don't know how to go forward from there?
It's quite easy to even quantify what bullying can cost an organization. In the first place, it brings down productivity. A lot of work is being done in the HR space on employee engagement. If you're being bullied, you won't be engaged 100% of the time that you are at the organization, and your productivity can drop by up to 50, 40%, 60% or even more if the bullying is hectic. I've met people who cry in the parking garage trying to bolster themselves up to go into the workplace. Now, when that is your state of trauma, then you are not being productive. All you're thinking about is when the next incident of bullying is taking place. And then the other important cost is the cost of turnover. It can cost up to 8 months of that person's salary to replace them. And it doesn't take rocket science to work out how easy it is to get to that 8-month figure.
You're from the training room online. Can you tell us a bit more about the training room online, how it works and your type of work that you practice in?
One of the reasons that I approached the training room online, I still have my own business, is because there's a lot of awareness that needs to be done from an employment equity perspective in an organization. And there are 4 topics that an organization needs to cover from an employment equity perspective. One of them is just general employment equity awareness. The other one is cultural sensitivity and diversity, which in our country is of critical importance. The other issue is one of harassment, and I broaden the scope to harassment and bullying because both can happen on cultural lines. And the risk for organizations, if a harasser or a person who's being bullied proves their case, is 24 months penalty if it's found to be on one of the listed grounds. And it has been shown statistically that bullying happens on cultural lines. And the last one is HIV/AIDS. So I teamed up with the training room online to make it easier for organizations to raise awareness around these issues. And the beauty of these courses is that people can do it in their own time when they want to and just do an assessment at the end of the training session and tick off that they have been trained. It raises awareness for the people that might be experiencing harassment in the workplace, but it also raises awareness and raises the whole EQ level of an organization.
Now, just to end off, if there's somebody out there watching you now and they're experiencing bullying at work, what would your advice be to them today?
I would, if they have a good HR department, I would immediately go to the HR department. I would speak to some of my colleagues and I would ask if it has happened to other people. Generally speaking, people know, and they've seen other people being bullied and they try and fly under the radar and try and not be bullied themselves. So there will be other people to speak to. And the other very important thing is to formulate it, write it down, use the existing grievance procedure. One of the interesting phenomena about bullying is that bullies rely on the conspiracy of silence to exist. The minute that it's exposed, I've actually seen a bully's facade crumble right before my very eyes. The minute it's exposed and people talk about it, and the minute there's a spotlight on the person, the bullying stops. So it's when you keep quiet, it's this conspiracy of silence amongst the victims of bullying that props up the bullying within the workplace. So speak out. I can't put it more graphically than that.
Well, Marleen, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Marleen Potgieter, she's an expert on the matter of bullying in the workplace. She's from the training room online.